Guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about what's next in your Apple platform's development journey here. So the previous video is the last video in our SwiftUI series until June. Every year I'm going to update this series with new stuff that they introduce at WWDC, and try hopefully to keep track of stuff that they introduce perhaps throughout the year, and put that on a list of stuff to cover when the next year comes around. So this app kit and UI kit are most likely going to get yearly updates. The series particularly absolutely will. It just depends. It kind of depends on how things go. But with that, where should you go from here? Right. So if SwiftUI was what you decided to learn first because you wanted to build your own applications on the side, or your job required it or something like that, congratulations. You should be able to build your own applications. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the YouTube comments or on X, because I'm always happy to answer. So with that, if you didn't choose SwiftUI as your first choice and you learned UIKit and AppKit first, well, good for you. You're much better suited now for the future than you were previously. But back to my point about if SwiftUI was your first choice. If SwiftUI is your first choice, I highly recommend now moving on to UIKit or AppKit, depending on what platform you want to develop for. If you want to develop for visionOS or watchOS, stick with SwiftUI, honestly, because watchOS is so much easier to develop for on watchOS, and really nobody uses... Well, I can't say that nobody uses WatchKit, because that's not true, but not very many people are using WatchKit. SwiftUI is one of those frameworks that even Apple says, hey, you should use this for the watch, because it's the first really solid framework that you can build Apple Watch apps with super easily. WatchKit existed for a while, and it still does, but it doesn't receive a whole lot of updates, if any, anymore. They don't really talk about it, not even at WWDC. So honestly, just use SwiftUI for the watch and for visionOS, because visionOS was built for SwiftUI. It was built to have its stuff built in SwiftUI. So SwiftUI works perfectly with visionOS. But if you want to build iOS applications, if you want to go on and build only iOS stuff, maybe build a Mac Catalyst app or something like that, UIKit is a good place to move on to. And then AppKit is a good place to go to if you want to learn macOS development instead. Like, you want to develop apps for the Mac instead of iOS, you could move on to AppKit. Now, I wouldn't recommend learning UIKit and AppKit at the same time if you want to know both of those. And the reason why is because while they use similar techniques, the two platforms are still very different in their own rights. So not everything you learn in one will apply to the other. But in terms of concepts that you can learn with SwiftUI, UIKit, and AppKit from here, core data for permanent storage, data persistence. Swift Data for the same thing. Swift Data is a more Swifty alternative to Core Data, which was originally in Objective-C. But they are still both supported. Even though Core Data is, gosh, I think it's well over 20 years old now, but still, it is supported. It's still getting new features and stuff, so there's no harm in learning it. I also encourage learning testing, unit tests and UI tests, especially unit tests. There are two choices for that: XC test and Swift testing. Swift testing is the newer one that uses like Swift macros and stuff like that, but I encourage you to learn XC test before Swift testing, because most applications are still going to be using XC test for the next several years, while Swift testing is still being adopted. The nice thing with Swift testing, at least, is that it's cross-platform. So you can do it on Mac, Windows, and Linux, which is nice. While XC test, you technically can do it on Linux, and I'm not sure about Windows. Don't quote me on that one. But UI tests do not work on other platforms except for the Mac. So you can't do XC UI tests for other platforms except for Mac, iOS, and all that stuff. Swift testing also doesn't support UI tests, so you're still going to have to learn XC test one way or another. Some other things that you can go out and learn are things like local authentication with passcodes and passwords, and Touch ID and Face ID, MapKit using location and displaying a map to the user, haptics, notifications, widgets. There's all kinds of stuff that you can learn from here. If you want to continue down the SwiftUI path, like just learning more things in SwiftUI, widgets is something that many apps have now. And frankly, if you don't have a widget, some people may not download your app at all. So it's a great idea to learn how to build widgets. So really, I think that covers everything in a broad stroke for where you should go, depending on your path and all that stuff. Of course, there are more nuanced approaches, but this is just kind of my 2 cents on the matter. But that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for following along with me and bearing with me, all the bugs and all the just all the frustrations and stuff that we've had. And I really do hope you've learned something. I appreciate all the positive feedback I've received this far. It means a lot. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, share the series around, and follow me on Twitter/X if you want. I post a lot of stuff there, and I'm always willing to answer questions, whether it be publicly or in DMs. So we'll see you in the next video.